And Reactio, Ryan Gosling cast as Sentry, ThunderBolts. Man, let's see what the one has to say about this and check this out.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Cosmic Wonder, where we talk all things Marvel and MCU. I'm your host, Warren Thompson, and it looks like we have our villain for the ThunderBolts, and it is the one and only Sentry, who many people right now are referring to as Evil Superman. Now, I don't entirely agree with this. Sentry, after all, is a superhero, albeit a very complicated superhero, who could very well indeed be a villain, but ultimately be a superhero in the MCU. Kind of like what they're doing with Namor right now. Obviously, Namor was the villain in Black Panther Wakanda Forever. He did some very villainous things. I won't put any spoilers out there, but he was pretty ruthless. However, we know that Namor many times in the comics has helped out a lot of the superhero teams and was even a part of the Illuminati. I'm assuming that the same thing is kind of going to happen for Sentry, which of course we're going to be talking about in this video, as well as going over some of the plot details that we have recently found out about the ThunderBolts movie. Now, if you were excited for the ThunderBolts, this should get you even more excited, and if you were kind of on the fence, hopefully this will change your mind and make you excited about the film. Also, we'll be doing a lot of really cool holiday giveaways soon, so be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out. Now, what's really interesting about Sentry entering the MCU is that we could have two possible actors to play him already. And I gotta say, I actually really like the casting choices so far. But let's go ahead and first start off with the recent reports. One is coming from Daniel RPK. It says, rumor the ThunderBolts will surely have a lot on their plate, as the adversary in their film is going to be Robert Reynolds, aka the Sentry. Now, adversary is in quotes, and I believe the reason it's in quotes is because Sentry really isn't a true villain. There is some evil that comes with him in more than one way, which I'll talk about in this video. But overall, Sentry is a hero. A lot of people look up to him, including Spider-Man. He becomes a role model for Spider-Man, and he becomes really good friends with people like Reed Richards, the Fantastic Four as a whole, the Avengers, and some X-Men as well. Now, this report is from Daniel RPK's Patreon account, but even before this came out, Grace Randolph tweeted saying, sounds like Marvel is casting an evil Superman for ThunderBolts. It's gonna be hard to top Homelander. And even Grace put evil Superman in quotes as well. And I do believe I know kind of what the story is going to be with Sentry and why he is going to be evil. But first, let's talk about the second part of Grace's tweet, where she says Gosling and Skarsgård might be potential casting choices. Now, at this point in time, we're pretty sure Ryan Gosling has had a few different meetings with Marvel Studios. It's been rumored that he could be playing Nova, but really what's going on is he's met with Marvel Studios about several different projects. And Marvel Studios and Kevin Feige are confirmed to do this with many different actors. Kevin Feige meets with many different actors over long periods of time sometimes to see if they are right for a specific role. Jake Gyllenhaal is the perfect example. Marvel Studios met with him many times over many different years. They didn't just meet with him and say, hey, you should play Mysterio. He met with them years before, and finally the Mysterio role came out, and they said, hey, this would be a perfect fit for you. What do you think? And he said yes. So the same thing is most likely happening with Ryan Gosling. He's been meeting with Marvel Studios about many different roles, and perhaps a current role right now could be Sentry. Now, Alexander Skarsgård, I think, would make a really good Sentry as well. And if anybody has seen Tarzan, or has simply seen what he looked like in Tarzan, the way he got in shape and the way he buffed up, you can see that he would make a pretty dang good Sentry. He even has the long blonde hair in that movie. So I honestly think that either of these two actors would make a pretty dang good Sentry. And I like both of them for this choice. I think each would bring something different to the table, but each would do a really good job. And both of them are able to bulk up and be really big for the role, because like everybody is calling him, he is essentially Marvel's Superman. So naturally, and kind of unfortunately, I think people are going to compare Sentry to Henry Cavill's Superman. So whoever plays the role is going to have to get jacked. Now, as far as Sentry being the villain in the ThunderBolts film, I think I pretty much know how this is going to work. Now, first things first, you have to know that it is confirmed that Harrison Ford is going to be replacing William Hurt as Thunderbolt Ross. Sadly, William Hurt passed away, but Marvel Studios had some pretty big plans for his character, Thunderbolt Ross, so they have decided to recast, and Harrison Ford is confirmed. It has also been reported that Thunderbolt Ross is going to be the president in the Thunderbolts movie, the President of the United States. And on top of that, it is confirmed that we are going to see him turn into Red Hulk in the movie. Actually, what is kind of interesting is all of this is confirmed for Captain America 4, New World Order, which will come out only months before the Thunderbolts film. So Captain America 4 is going to set up a lot of events of the Thunderbolts, specifically concerning the Super Soldier Serum, which has a direct involvement with Sentry as well. Now, Robert Reynolds, aka Sentry, was a meth addict. He was a meth head. And one day he broke into a laboratory where he discovered the Golden Sentry Serum and he consumed it. Now, the Golden Sentry Serum was essentially the Super Soldier Serum, but magnified by about 100,000. So think about how strong Captain America was and magnify that by a ton. Now, what had happened was in 1947, Canada's Department K and the United States Operation Rebirth pulled their resources to become Project Sentry and attempted to recreate the Super Soldier Serum. But not just recreate it, but magnify its effects by 100,000. Unfortunately, 30 years into this project had turned into about 1,000 different subunits, and they didn't really have any type of system in place to monitor all of these subunits. So basically, every unit was kind of just doing whatever they felt like, with no real regulation whatsoever. So you have all of these subunits trying to recreate the Super Soldier Serum, except 100 times more powerful. So Robert Reynolds breaks into one of the labs and consumes the Golden Sentry Serum, giving him the power of 1,000,000 exploding suns. When he consumed this, he killed his partner and all of the lab's guards. But obviously he loved the effect and he asked the professor to make him more. However, the project leaders discovered what happened and they were appalled at what had happened, but also appalled that they didn't really have any system in place to make sure that stuff like this didn't happen. So they asked Robert Reynolds if they could do tests on him, in which he agreed, but soon they couldn't really control him, as his desire to do good by his powers was too much. So he finally left, he sewed himself a costume and called himself Sentry. And from there on, Sentry was a hero. Like I said, he became friends with a lot of different superheroes, and Spider-Man even looked up to him after Sentry discovered his identity was Peter Parker. But unfortunately, what followed is what I think is going to possibly show up in the Thunderbolts. A being called the Void arrived, which was a shadowy monster, which essentially used a person's own greatest fears against them. And it murdered over 1,000,000 people in Manhattan. However, it was discovered that the Void was the own dark aspect of Sentry's own powers. So the only way to beat the Void was to team up with Reed Richards and Doctor Strange to create a system which made Earth's entire population forget that Sentry ever existed. Sounds kind of familiar, doesn't it? Doctor Strange was even involved in that as well, making everybody forget that Peter Parker existed and that he was Spider-Man. But in the story, when everybody forgot that Sentry and Robert Reynolds existed, the Void vanished. The Void was powered by the Sentry's powers. But here's where things get really interesting. Eventually, Robert Reynolds was captured. He was brought to the mutant illusionist Mastermind, and he implanted a mental virus inside of Sentry's mind, basically telling him and convincing him that if he used his powers, a devil would appear. This prevented him from using his powers. So I'm assuming something like this is going to happen in the Thunderbolts. Robert Reynolds will most likely be the subject of some super soldier experiment with an amplified super soldier serum. It will most likely be successful for him, turning him into Sentry. However, the government is probably going to implant something inside of his head that basically makes him work for them. However, he might get too much out of control, or an actual villain might take control over him, and that is why he is going to be a villain. However, he is going to be the product of some United States experiments, so the United States has to take care of it so it doesn't get out. So that is why they send the Thunderbolts team, because it's kind of a sketchy experiment, and you probably don't want people to know about it, so you send the Thunderbolts team, the group of villains. And we all know Thunderbolt Ross has been searching for Super Soldier Serum and most likely experimenting on it for a while. So this is most likely a byproduct of his experiment. So that is why he is going to be involved as well, and how we'll most likely see Red Hulk. But I'm assuming by the end of the Thunderbolts film, or maybe even in the post-credit scene for it, we will see Sentry become good, be released from whatever mental prison he's being put under, whether that's a mental microchip or an illusion or hypnosis. That will be released, and Sentry should be a hero in the MCU. And I'm really excited for it, but hey, let me know what you think about this in the comments down below. And does this make you excited for the Thunderbolts? Let me know down below. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the latest news For live updates, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.
But yeah, please subscribe, like this video, so watching. Great day, and see you guys. Bye.